Hi, I built this RMC coaster in NL2+. I think it turned out alright, but there's still room for improvement. Proper RMC catwalks would be nice. And what about some truss supports for the lift hill and stall? I'll show you how to make those. So far, people have been doing custom supports for the coasters entirely by hand and only modified the catwalks from the support generator to get custom results. This involves a lot of manual work, so it's really hard and frustrating and inconvenient to do. For this reason, I've developed a generator that lets you generate RMC truss supports and catwalks that look really similar to their real-life counterpart. You can use the generator for your own personal hobby projects. Do not use it in any commercial way though, please. What things do you need for the generator? Before we can get started, we need 4 things. The 3D modeling program Blender, an add-on for Blender to import the layout of our coaster, the project file that contains the generator for the supports and catwalks, and the demo park that you can try the generator on. You can download Blender for free via the link in the video description. The generator only works on Blender 4.0 or newer versions. If you have a version that is older than 4.0, you need to download Blender again. Like I said, the link for that is in the video description. Once the download is complete, you're ready to install Blender. Just follow the program installation instructions. The link for the Blender add-on is in the video description as well. It gets downloaded as a zip file as soon as you click on the link. We need the add-on to remain as a zip file, so do not unzip it after the download. You can get the generator project file and the demo park via the corresponding link in the video description. The link leads you to a folder that contains a .blend and a .NL2 package file. The blend file contains the generator. The NL2 package file is the demo park that contains the coaster, as well as all the other necessary files to get the generated supports and catwalks into your own NL2 parks. Download both files. Before we can start working with the generator, we need to prepare a few things. Open NL2. Open the editor. Open the previously downloaded NL2 package file. Click on File, then Extract Package, and then OK. And finally, yes. Now you can try the generator on the demo park or use it directly in your own park. To use the generator in your own parks, you need to copy 2 folders. Open the folder that contains all your parks. Open the folder called Laundlum's RMC Catwalk and Truss Generator. Copy the folders called Catwalk and Truss. Go back to your Parks folder and open the folder of the park you want to use the generator in. Paste the 2 folders into that folder. Now we have to install the Blender add-on. To do that, open Blender. Click on Edit and then on Preferences. This window opens. Click on Add-ons on the list on the left and then the Install button in the top right. This window opens. Navigate to the folder the add-on was downloaded to. This should be where all your downloads usually go, so it's most likely the download folder. Choose the file with the name io_scene_lwo.zip and click on Install Add-on. Your add-on appears here after a few seconds. Tick this checkbox to activate it. You can now close this window. And now, Blender is ready to generate some cool RMC stuff. Now we have everything we need and can get properly started. Now you have to export your coaster layout from NL2, and don't worry, NL2 Pro is not required for this. In the NL2 editor, click on the Coaster tab and make sure that the coaster you want to export is selected. Now click on the Advanced tab and then on Light Pattern Creator. This window opens. Check the box in the top right next to Generate Object and then click on Generate in the bottom left. All other settings must not be changed. This window opens. Navigate to the folder that contains the park that you have currently opened and click on Select in the top right. Now you have exported the layout. Now we have to open the project file. Open Blender. Click on File and on Open and navigate to the folder the project file was downloaded into. Select the file and click Open. Now we can import the layout. Click on the so-called collection named Spline/Light Pattern Object. Click on File and then Import. And now go down all the way to Lightwave Object. Navigate to the folder where you export your layout to. Click on this file here. Click on Import LWO and click OK on this error message here. Now check the Cancel Search checkbox and press Select Image Search Path. Now is a good moment to show Blender's camera control. Turn the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Press the mouse wheel and move the mouse at the same time to turn the camera. And click on this hand, keep the mouse button pressed and move the mouse at the same time to move the camera left and right. Position the camera so that the starting point of your coaster is in view. Let's start with the truss. Click on the truss segment that follows the track. I will call segments like this one truss arches from now on. Click on this wrench. Now you can see the settings that you can change. The first setting is called Attach to Track Number. It lets you decide which track of your coaster the truss arch should be connected to. That can be helpful when your coaster has multiple tracks because of storage tracks or backwards parts that are connected via a switch or transfer track. The second setting is called Reverse Track Direction. The generator sometimes switches up the start and end point of your track. If that's the case, you can check this checkbox to reverse the track direction. The most important settings are start point and end point. With those you can set how far away from the start of the track in meters the truss arch is supposed to start and end. Apart from that, you also have the option to extend the truss arch by start and end extension by an arbitrary length in meters. You can also place footers on the extensions. Only use the start and end extension settings when you want to connect the truss arch to the ground at an angle and not vertically. For the lift hill, increase the value of the endpoint setting until the truss arch reaches the steepest point of the drop. Increase the value of the start point setting until the truss arch reaches a point directly behind the entry into the lift. Increase the value of the start extension setting until the truss arch sits under the entry into the lift. Check the checkbox next to Start Footer to place a footer at the base of the lift. The truss arch for the lift is now finished. The rest will be done with supports. Now let's take a look at the truss supports. click on the truss support. Click on this wrench. Now you can see the settings that you can change. The central support has the following settings. The first setting is called Connect to Truss Arch Number. With it, you can decide which truss arch the support should be connected to, in case you are using multiple truss arches. The second setting is called Position along Truss Arch. With this setting, you can set how many meters away from the starting point of the truss arch the support should be placed. The third setting is called Ground Height. With it, you can set the height the ground has that the support will stand on in NL2 in relation to the water level. If a support is supposed to stand on a hill, for example, that sits 20 meters above the water level, you have to enter 20 meters here. Then we have the side supports that have the following settings. With a setting called Segment Count, you can set how many segments the support is supposed to be made of. With the setting Left instead of Right, you can set if the side support is supposed to be on the left or the right of the central support in relation to the direction of travel of the coaster. Every support can have an arbitrary amount of side supports. To add a side support, you have to click on this arrow in the settings area of a side support and then click on Duplicate. To delete a side support, you have to click on the X in the settings area of the side support. Move the support with the Position along Truss Arch setting to the end of the truss arch. Press the Shift and the D key on your keyboard to duplicate the support. Move the support in the direction of the beginning of the lift hill to a spot you like. Duplicate and move this support multiple times and place the copies along the lift. I would look at a few pictures of real-life RMC truss supports to get a realistic spacing between the supports. The shorter of the two beams that connect directly to the truss arch are always perfectly vertical on real-life RMC coasters. Because of the perspective, it's hard to tell though if that's the case on our supports in Blender as well. For that reason, we need to switch to the axis view. Click on the X or the Y on the gimbal in the top right. This causes the camera to look in the direction of the axis you clicked on without any distortion due to perspective. The axis you clicked on may not give you a good view of the supports. If that's the case, try clicking on the other axis. Now click on the support and make some finer adjustments to the position until the short beam is perfectly vertical. You can click on the arrows on the left and right of the value for the Position along Truss Arch setting. Each click moves the support by 1 cm. Do this with all of the supports. If your lift sits on uneven terrain, you have to set the ground height for each support with a ground height setting. Edit the side supports of every support with the side support settings. For this, there are plenty of reference photos of Ain-Gwazi, Zadra and the other RMCs with a truss on the internet as well. Now that you know how to generate the truss for the lift, it's not that difficult to do it for the stall as well. Click on the truss arch of the lift. Press the Shift and the D key on your keyboard to duplicate the truss arch. Set the values of the start point and end point setting so that the truss arch covers the stall. Set the length of the extensions to 0 and remove the footers. Click on one of the lift supports and duplicate it with Shift+D. Change the value of the Connect to Truss Arch number setting so that the support connects to the truss arch of the stall. Position the support with the Position along Truss Arch setting on one end of the stall and adjust the height with the ground height setting. Change into the axis view for the finer adjustments and adjust the support position accordingly. Duplicate the support and move it to the other end of the stall. Next up are the catwalks. Click on the catwalk. Click on this wrench. Now you can see the settings that you can change. The first setting is called Attach to Track Number. With it you can decide which track the catwalk should be connected to. The second setting is called Reverse Track Direction. The generator sometimes switches up the start and end point of your track. If that's the case, you can check this checkbox to reverse the track direction. The third setting is called left instead of right. With it, you can set if the catwalk is supposed to be on the left or the right of the track in relation to the direction of travel of the coaster. The fourth and fifth settings are called start and end respectively. With those, you can set how many meters away from the start of the track the catwalk is supposed to start and end. The other settings aren't that important just yet, I'll cover those later. Set the start and end point of your catwalk however it fits your coaster. I want to add a queue in the empty space between the station and the lift later. To make it easy to walk from the lift back to the station regardless, I'll add the catwalk to the pre-lift as well, but that's entirely up to you. We also need catwalks on the brakes. To add another catwalk segment, you have to click on the arrow in the settings area of the catwalk segment and then click on duplicate. You can add an arbitrary amount of catwalk segments this way. To delete a catwalk segment, you have to click on the X in the settings area of a respective catwalk segment. Let's take a look at the rest of the settings. With the step/platform switch steepness setting, you can set at what angle in degrees the catwalk is supposed to use steps instead of a wooden platform. With the post spacing setting, you can set the distance between the vertical wooden posts. The catwalk horizontal and vertical offset settings let you set how far away the catwalk is supposed to offset from the center of rails in meters. The default settings should be accurate to real-life RMCs, but you can change them to accommodate custom RMC trains or even other coaster types. Now we are ready for the export of the generated models. Do the following for exporting the truss supports. Hold the Shift key on your keyboard. Click on all the truss arches and truss supports. Click on File, then Export, and then GLTF 2.0. This window opens. Navigate to the folder of the park you want to use the truss supports in. Open the folder called Truss. Click on the file named trusssupport.glb and click on Export GLTF 2.0. Do the following for exporting the catwalks. Click on the catwalk. Click on File, then Export, and then GLTF 2.0. This window opens. Navigate to the folder of the park you want to use the catwalks in. Open the folder called Catwalk. Click on the file named catwalk.glb and click on Export GLTF 2.0. Now the export process is finished. Before you can place the truss supports and catwalks in NL2, you have to prepare your coaster. Change the style settings for all the affected track segments so that no wooden supports and/or catwalks are generated by the in-game support generator. Regenerate the wooden supports and freeze the coaster. Now the truss supports and catwalks can be placed. You can place the truss supports like this. Go to the Scenery tab and click on Choose. This window opens. Click on Park Base, open the folder called Truss, and double-click on the file named Truss Support. Now click on Add Object, click anywhere in the park, and now the generated truss supports appear in the park. Click on Select Modify, double-click on the truss object. Change the values for the position of X, Y, and Z to 0. Pick some colors that you like. The truss supports are now properly placed. You can place the catwalks in effectively the same way. So go to the Scenery tab, click on Choose, this window opens, go up by one folder level, open the folder called Catwalk, click on the file named Catwalk, click OK, click on Add Object, click anywhere in the park, and now the generated catwalks appear in the park. Click on Select Modify, double-click on the truss object, change the values of the position for X, Y, and Z to 0, pick some colors that you like, and now the catwalks are properly placed. Check if you made any mistakes. Take a good look at the truss and the catwalk in NL2 and check if everything looks like you want it to. In this case, the start extension of a lift truss arch is too long and the footer sits underground. Make all the necessary changes to the truss and catwalks in Blender and export them again. You don't have to place the newly exported object again in NL2. You can just click on them in your park, go to the Scenery tab and click on Reload in the top left. That reloads the model file and you can see if the changes you made make everything fit now. And with that, we are done. I wish you a lot of fun with the generator and I'm really excited to see your projects involving it. You can do much more than just lift hill and store supports, of course. With a little bit of creativity you can make supports for various elements such as loops, hills, top hats and other more complex elements. Here, take a look.